Coming up on the next episode of the Fused Logic podcast, we're excited to announce internationally renowned author and speaker Bob Burg. Bob has written the book, The GoGiver. Head to thegogiver.com to find out more about the book. Super excited to have him on the show. To find out more about the Fused Logic podcast, head to fusedlogic.com/podcast.
Fused Logic. Analytics and engagement evolved.
Welcome to the Fused Logic Podcast, Episode 3. Today we have Bob Burg, internationally renowned author, speaker, and a man who knows a whole lot about leadership. And he's excited, I think, to share his thoughts on the GoGiver series of books that he co-authored with John David Mann. He's also written Endless Referrals and Adversaries into Allies. What a breadth of work and so deep and so much to speak about today. But, we're trying to drill down into what makes people successful, how they've overcome challenges in their lives. And so I'm super excited to have Bob Burg on the show. Bob, welcome so much, and thank you for coming on to the Fused Logic podcast.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So one thing I want to just quickly say off the top, don't want to take a whole lot of time to talk about it, but, this is extra special for us because Hurricane Matthew just rolled through Florida, and you're in Florida, and I hope that you and your family and friends are all safe.
Yeah, we got very fortunate. We were actually being in the general West Palm Beach area. We were scheduled to be right in the eye, I guess, and it turned north just at the last minute, and we still got it, but nothing near as bad as it could have been. So our prayers and best wishes to everyone north to us, and hoping that everyone stays safe.
Well, Hurricane Matthew's been absolutely no joke. It's been a very serious storm, and so I'm very happy to hear that you're safe. And again, thank you, given all of that, that you still managed to give of your time and come on to the show. It's as I want to first thank you and your co-author John David Mann for writing the GoGiver series. I've read the first book, The GoGiver, and I was given that book by a friend and business colleague of mine, Stephen Green. And Stephen said, "You know what? You've got to read this book. It's absolutely incredible." And he's, I know, implementing the laws of success within the book in his business. And I'll tell you, Stephen Green is just a massive success in his business. He's in the construction business in the Edmonton, Alberta area, and I'll tell you, he's doing very well. And obviously, without looking or reading the book, you may not, for some of our listeners, may not have read the book, but I certainly, can't speak enough about it. Right now, my wife, Erica, is reading it, and she's just loving it. She's a teacher, and she's not in business, but she's just loving it as well. There's so many great principles. So when I think about that, and of course, I'm currently just finishing the GoGiver Leader, and I can't wait to read GoGiver Sells More. But when you were sitting back and thinking about your next book project as a prolific author as you are, what was the sudden inspiration, or maybe it's an idea you've been thinking about for a long time, but what was the spark that had you lead in this direction and start working on this project?
Well, the GoGiver itself came as an idea, the result of a book I had out years ago, first published in the I guess early to mid 90s, called Endless Referrals: Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales, which was it was a how-to book for people in sales who really didn't feel comfortable in developing those new relationships that would lead to new business and referral business. And the basic premise of the book was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And, that book was sort of my fastball, as they would say, for quite a while, in terms of speaking and so forth. But throughout the years, I'd read a lot of business parables, and have always enjoyed them, whether it was, Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World, or Klassen's Richest Man in Babylon, or in the late 70s, early 80s, the 1 Minute series by Doctors Blanchard and Johnson, and then, of course, Spencer Johnson had Who Moved My Cheese, and there's been lots and lots and lots of business parables over the years, and I think I don't know if I've read all of them. I've probably read 90% of them, but I love them. I always just enjoyed how you could, in a quick 1 to 2 hour read, you could get a whole lot out of it, and it would be fun. Stories connect with people on a deep level, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could take the basic premise of endless referrals and turn it into a story? Well, when you think, how do you develop those know, like, and trust relationships? You're always giving value to others. Along with being a go-getter, you're also a go-giver, a giver of value. And so I thought, we could make a story out of that and build a story around that. The only thing is, I'm a how-to writer, not a fiction writer or a story writer. But fortunately, I knew John David Mann, who was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I used to write for. And in his particular niche at the time, he was known as a brilliant, brilliant writer. Now, the world had not discovered him yet. Now they have. I mean, this guy is the in-demand co-author and ghostwriter for a number of people. He's got a number of books on the New York Times bestseller list, very much in demand. And while he was busy at that time on a lot of writing projects, fortunately, he was able to discuss with me this project that we named the GoGiver, and that we had an idea about. And he was the lead writer, though. He was the storyteller. He's a brilliant author. I'm much more of a how-to guy. I'm step 1, step 2, step 3. So it was a good collaboration. But he really did the heavy lifting in terms of writing the story. And once the GoGiver came out, and it hit really big, and fortunately it hit pretty quickly, the next step was to continue the series. The GoGivers Sell More was sort of the application aspect of the GoGiver, and then our latest one was the GoGiver Leader, because so many people said, well, how does this relate, to leadership per se?
Right. Well, I was in a bookstore here just recently with my daughter, and we were shopping for books. She wanted to get the last book in a series that she was reading. She's 11, and I just, I couldn't resist. I had to take her to the bookstore.
How great that she's a reader already.
Yeah, absolutely. No, she's, really loves creative stories. And, so I took my opportunity to jump over to the business section. And so lo and behold, there's your book sitting there, and I just couldn't wait to just grab it. And I was... I was looking for the GoGiver Sells More, of course, and I'm still, that's the next one I'm going to read, even though in the series it's typically number 2 of the 3.
Yeah, it doesn't matter though.
But no, and you guys have written such a great book that, and I was absolutely disappointed at the end of the GoGiver, and not for the reason why you might think in terms of a lousy, story. It was because it was over, and it went by, in my opinion, so fast. And so I couldn't wait to get, sink my teeth into the next one. So when you hear stories out there from business people and business owners and other folks when they talk about how the GoGiver has impacted their businesses. What are some of the key things that they continually come back and that you hear that how it's impacted their businesses for the positive?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when people tell us that what they got most out of it was the shift in focus. And I'm glad when they come back with that, because that is the biggest part of it. It's when people ask, well, what's the premise of the GoGiver itself? And the basic premise is simply that shifting one's focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing value to others. And really that means nothing more than moving from what we could call an I focus or me focus to an other focus. Always looking for ways to make the other person's life better, happier, more successful, however it is you would do that. And it begins the moment you meet that person. It continues through the getting to know them process, through the sales process, through the referral process, and afterwards. And so when people will say that, my business was pretty successful before, but when I made that shift in focus and I realized what I was really doing this for, that when you can really, really bring value to another human being, this is why they're going to do business with you. I often, when I speak at a sales conference, the first thing I'll say is, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, really want the sale, or even because you're a really nice person who truly believes in your product or service. All that's good, but that's not why they're going to buy from you. They're going to buy from you because they believe that they are better off by doing so than by not doing so. And that's fine. That's the only reason why they should buy from us. And what's great about that is it ensures that the people who put their focus in the right place, which is on your customer, those are the people who succeed the most.
Yeah, it's I loved that concept throughout the book, and I loved how you presented that information. And you know what? We've really shifted. In fact, at Fused Logic, we've always really wanted to come from a place of helping others, with their internet marketing and helping them figure it out and sell more and get more of their message out. That's always been at the core. But the way that it gets delivered, the way we implement it, for example, with this podcast, when people, I've called it the secret download. So now when you go and you listen to the podcast in this episode at our website, there is going to be a link there where we're going to deliver something extra special to the audience that they can download and use for their businesses free of cost, just simply because they've spent their time listening to you and I talk about things that are important to us. So it's not only delivering those kinds of things, but it's also just in how you approach life, I think. How have people outside of business, has it impacted, that you're aware of, has it impacted people's lives in other ways that maybe they're not business owners, but they've just decided to adopt it as their way of operating generally as a human being?
Yeah, that's a great question, Walter, because and as Pindar, the mentor in the story, told Joe, that any successful business principle will apply across the board to all aspects of life. So whether we're talking financial, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, social, relational, what have you, success principle is a success principle. So we have a lot of people who have kind of shifted the way they've related to their family members and to their friends. And you were saying your wife is a professional educator. We have educators throughout North America now, using the book in the school with their high school classes. In fact, we have a teacher's guide curriculum that a teacher from Wheeler High School in Valparaiso, Indiana, wrote with John and me. So, we're seeing it not, it's a business story, but it applies to all of life, not just business.
Let's talk a little bit about business in particular, and the referral side of the business, which is where this sort of started
Sure.
for you. How would you give? What kind of advice would you give to business owners listening right now in terms of how they want to really just ramp up the referral portion of their business? What are some tips you could kind of give them that are simple and they could implement pretty quickly?
Well, I think first it's understanding the importance of referrals, because I think intuitively we all know, hey, referrals are a good thing. But if we know that, we also have to ask the question, why do so few people receive them to the degree that they really should? Especially those who have great products and services that really help others, but why is it that they don't receive them? And some people say, well, people refer to me all the time, and that's great when you can sit back and let people refer to you, and if it happens, and there's people who have great businesses like that, but by and large, that's not usually the way it happens. We need to be proactive about it. We need to systemize the referral process. So understanding first why it's so important, and I think there are 4 really big reasons. Referred prospects are easier to set the appointment with. Obviously, we're going in on borrowed influence. With referred prospects, price is generally less of an issue. Now, that doesn't mean it's a non-issue. It doesn't mean it's not an issue, but it's generally less of an issue, again, because you're going in on borrowed influence and borrowed trust. So instead of selling on price, you can sell on value, which is always more effective, because let's face it, unless your last name is Walmart, trying to make low price your unique selling proposition is not a good business strategy. So, often when you sell on low price, when you sell on price, you're a commodity. When you sell on value, you're a resource, and that's where you want to be. The third reason, referred prospects are generally it's easier to close the sale or complete the transaction. You're going in on borrowed trust, or what we call vicarious experience. In other words, while this prospect has not done business with you personally, someone who they know, like, and trust has. And so, you come into it 9 steps ahead of the game in a 10-step game. In their mind, they already are predisposed to trust you. You still have to earn it, but predisposition is there. And and maybe the biggest benefit of a referred prospect is that referred prospects are already of the mindset that that's how you do business. So for them, in their world, they see you as a referral-based salesperson. And so they're much more likely when you ask for the referral to provide you. Now, when you said, what about tips? Well, we need to be able to ask in such a way that we help this person think of names, of qualified names. You've probably seen people who've asked for referrals and they've said something like, well, do you know anybody who do you know who might be interested, what have you? And the person thinks about it because, hey, they know, like, and trust you. They want to help you. They want to help their friends by referring your product. But they look at you, they think about it, and finally they say, well, I can't think of anybody right now, but when I do, I'll let you know, right? Or I'll call you. And does it ever happen? Well, maybe once in a blue moon, but not too often. And we can't run a successful business that way. And what happens is, when you think about it, it's really not their fault for not coming up with someone. When we say, who do you know, or do you know anyone who? Well, most people, we know a lot of people. The average person knows 250 to 300 people, directly and or indirectly. So when we say, who do you know, or do you know anyone who, a collage of 250, 300 people run past their mind with this, cloudless, faceless, nameless, and they can't think of anybody. So what we need to do is, and I first learned this from Tom Hopkins and his masterpiece from, I think I first read this 35 or so more years ago, How to Master the Art of Selling. Now, of course, it's a sales classic. And he only spent about a half a page on this, as I remember, but it's been one of the most profitable things I ever learned. And he discusses funneling down their world into small groups of people who they can see. The importance here, Walter, is that when we ask for referrals, we want to set them up to win, to be victorious, to be able to come up with names, as opposed to feeling badly, making them feel badly about the fact that they can't think of anyone. Then they put pressure on themselves and they can't. So let's do it this way. For example, let's say this person, Gary, is he is a client of yours, and you say, now, Gary, I know you play golf. What you learned about Gary, you found out about him. He said, I love golf. Well, how often do you play? I play pretty much every week, every Sunday afternoon. Do you play with different people or the same foursome every day? Oh, same foursome. Harry Brown, Michael Cloud, Dr. Mary Ruart, the four of us, we play all the time. Well, boom. Now he's just named, he's pictured 3 people. So now you can say, would Harry or Michael or Dr. Mary, do you feel any of them might be open to the idea of, or however you would phrase it based on your product or service? Well, it might be all 3 of them, might be none of them, might be one of them. But what have you, whatever it is, that's fine. Now you move on to another frame. He's a member of his Kiwanis Club, and he's been a member for 20 years, very proud of it. Now you wouldn't say, is there anyone in Kiwanis who, because it could be too big a group again, but you'd say, is there anyone in your club who you're particularly friendly with, or that you serve on a committee with, or maybe sit next to every time? Well, boom, now he can come up with 2 names, and you ask if any of these people might be open to the idea of, and so forth. And so that's just a one tip of many, but what it says is there are systems for being able to ask in such a way that you very much increase the likelihood of your obtaining those referrals.
I think those are excellent points. I know that one of the things that there was a number of things in those comments I wanted to touch on, but one of the things you'd mentioned was, borrowed influence. And, I've achieved success in terms of referrals simply because I would approach someone like, say, okay, Bob, is there someone I could introduce you to in your business that would maybe help you solve a problem? Maybe it's a new client, or it's somebody who can provide you services to get you to another level. In particular, is there somebody or some sort of skill that you're looking for? And often, that I can go find for you. And they're most of the time very receptive to, getting that referral or being introduced to somebody. And then when I find somebody that fits the bill, I then personally introduce them, together, and hopefully in a face-to-face whenever possible. And I can say, Bob, I would like you to meet, Stephen. Stephen does this, and I think you'd really appreciate his business for the following reasons. And then Stephen, this is Bob, and Bob is an expert in this area. And I really thought, knowing both of you and your businesses, that this would be an important meeting for you both. And then I kind of just sit back as a fly in the wall, and I learn and listen, and hopefully there's something there that they can take away. And so, but I really love, the whole borrowed influence and borrowed trust aspects of how you describe that, because that literally is what's happening. Those individuals are sort of, I'm the trust and influence glue in that introduction. And if I don't have very good trust and influence with these folks individually, then that referral isn't going to have much value or weight when I go to bring it forward. So you make a really powerful point there. I would like to ask you, in terms of scaling your business as an author, because being an author, a professional author, is a business, of course, and also a professional paid speaker. How have you been able to? What challenges have you overcome to really achieve another level to where you're at today? What are some of the things that you managed to fix or overcome or find solutions to that helped you grow?
Gosh, there's a number of of levels to that too. Because aside from the speaking, one thing I've wanted to overcome is just being dependent upon speaking, because while it's fun, it's still you do the thing, you get paid, you leave, and that's it. And so you have to keep on putting in the hours in order to for the money. And so I've tried to overcome that being something I'm stuck with. So we've done a few things. One is that we do have a whole bunch of other products and services that we make available. One of them happens to be a certified GoGiver speaker program, where people pay us for the rights to learn how to speak on the topic of the GoGiver, which includes endless referrals and includes ultimate influence and the other programs. And we teach them how to become paid professional speakers. And these are generally people who have already had a career. They most of them have read the book, and they used a lot of those principles in their business, and now they want to be a speaker, so they want to utilize that platform. So that's one way in which we have, we've created another income stream, while at the same time being able to reach more people. Another way is my business partner, Kathy Tagenel, and I are now doing programs where I don't have to travel, but instead we have these 2-day, what we call GoGiver Sales Academies, where we limit them to just 10 people, and it's very, very specific toward that person. It becomes very mastermindy in nature. It's a really fun 2 days, but again, it was something because I don't really love to travel, and as I get older, I'm trying to get off the road more as opposed to being on it more. And so, those are just something. We have a membership site, which is very small right now, but starting to grow. And so these are some of the things we're doing to get over that dependence, if you will, on the speaking part.
A little bit of diversification and sharing your expertise. That's excellent. Yeah. So if you could go back, I just got to have a couple of more questions here, and they may come out from left field for you. But if you could go back to your 21-year-old self and give that person, some really key advice, what would it be?
Oh, that would be easy. It would be, hey, Berg, just shut up and listen, because you don't know it all. And I would probably paraphrase Mark Twain, and Mark Twain is credited with this. I don't know that he said this, but I suspect he did, because it sounds very Twainian, where he said it's not what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you're absolutely certain that you do know that just ain't so. And I think I think that's who I was back then. I absolutely knew things that just weren't so. So I needed to, it's not that I couldn't listen and take advice, but I just had so much in my mind that I just thought was a certain way that had to be a certain way, and I was closed to other ways, and it set me back.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. When we take a look at potential clients and we sit down, we have an introductory meeting and a get to know you. One of the things I look for in those business owners is their willingness to learn and be open to new ideas, because quite often, in the marketing business, the internet marketing is what we do, you come across folks who feel like they are the number one internet marketer in the world, and the only reason they're hiring you is because they're just so busy they can't do it for themselves. And so I tend to steer away from those folks just simply because it's not that I don't think they're good people. It's just that it's such a creative process to do well. And you have to have a lot of give and take in that business relationship. You have to be open to new ideas. You don't have to accept every single one and implement every single one, but at least listening to them, as you just said, I think is incredibly important. And then, you get down to the ideas that maybe do make sense for the business goals and can help them get to another level. I think that's really important to listen more and learn. And it's another reason why I love doing the podcast, because I get to listen to experts like yourself and learn from you. And it's a ton of fun for me. So, we
all learn from each other.
Yeah, I sure hope so, for sure. And what if you were to give an aspiring author, like myself, who's working on some projects and stuff, some really key advice, because you've been so successful writing, what would be some really key things that you would tell, someone like myself or others who are listening who might want to write a book? What are some of the things you'd like to share with them?
Well, I probably the first thing I would say is understand that the writing part, getting the book published, whether you go through a traditional publisher, in which you'd want to find an agent to go through that publisher, or whether you independently publish, self-publish, or however you do it, the writing of the book, the publishing of the book is just the first step. It's really all about marketing the book successfully. A great book can sit right on the I won't even say the shelves, because it usually doesn't make the shelves. A great book with no marketing behind it can pretty much be stored in a person's garage, and not move. It takes a real marketing and sales effort to get that book out there. Now, at that point, it can then certainly take on a life of its own. But even that, the GoGiver has now been out about 9 years. I've never stopped doing interviews on it.
Yeah.
So. I would say get behind, make the book a business of its own. Think of the book as a business of its own. And, of course, it needs to be well written. It needs to be, you need to have a good publisher. But the publisher, it's not their job to market the book. It's your job to market the book.
Right.
And fortunately, there's a lot of people who are really good at doing that and can help in doing that. Also, build that online presence. Of course, you're an expert on this, so that this is nothing you'd need to know, but just to have that online presence before you need help in marketing the book, because, people will help you. They will be glad to do that. But have those relationships out there first. And really, there's not a whole lot of step-by-step things. There would be, but it would be a call in and of itself, I guess. But it's just understanding that the marketing of the book is what's going to make or break the book.
Yeah, it's. I think that you're absolutely correct in terms of the marketing side of it. The book that I'm writing, I've entitled "Escape Velocity." It should be out early next year, and the whole purpose of the book is to really tell stories about how people have overcome really key challenges in their job to achieve another level, not only of success, but there's also really key stories about people, internet marketers or people who are responsible for communications in an organization, and they had to overcome many barriers of bureaucracy and fear and so on to achieve something. And so that book is going to explain that. But you're absolutely correct in the sense that you need to build those relationships before you need them. It's one of the things that we inject into our internet marketing in terms of building relationships. And what I found, we've always always focused on building relationships through our internet marketing work and social media. And it was interesting because I had an opportunity to speak with Seth Godin, who, as you know, has written many, many different books in marketing and business.
He's amazing.
15-time New York Times bestselling author, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing him on a couple of different occasions, and the most recent one was about tribes when that first came out. And it really talks about, building those relationships and leading groups forward that want to be led. And I see this exact thing happening with you and the sort of the GoGiver nation, if you will, and leading that tribe of folks who believe in these principles within the book. So I highly recommend that people head to the GoGiver.com and check out your website and also pick up the books because they're fantastic.
Thank you.
Bob, I want to thank you so very much. Is there anything that you'd like to quickly add to the audience that that they should know about the GoGiver principles or the laws of success? I don't want to give too much away for those folks who haven't read the book because it's just so well written. I'd hate to give all the secrets away about it. But is there anything you'd like to add?
That's okay. I always happy to talk about the principles of the GoGiver. No, there's really nothing else. It's just it's understanding about shifting that focus, and of course, law number 5 is about receptivity, and it means that when you focused on the giving of value, you then need to allow yourself to receive in like measure. So it's there's no dichotomy that you're either a giver or a receiver. We want people to be both. We want people to focus on giving value and then allow themselves to receive in like measure, because it's really giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin. They work in tandem.
Well, thank you for that. Now, you have your own podcast. Where should people go if they want to listen to you on a regular basis?
Oh, thank you. If they go to thegogiver.com without the hyphen, just thegogiver.com, and when they scroll down, they can subscribe to or click on the GoGiver podcast. They can also get Chapter 1 of the GoGiver, GoGiver Sell More, the GoGiver Leader, or Endless Referrals at that part of the site too, to see if they like it first before clicking through. And there's all sorts of goodies there. So we invite everyone to come to thegogiver.com and hang out and have some fun.
Well, thank you so much, Bob, for your time, and especially during these, perilous times with big storms in Florida. Thank you again so much, and I really do wish you all the best with your business and continued success in writing future stories. Can't wait to read them, and appreciate again your time.
Thank you. You too. I just love what you're doing. I appreciate you, Walter.
Thank you very much. Wow, so much there to learn and take away. The thing that I think strikes me the most is to focus on others, to give and help them get what they want, help them achieve their goals, and you will be successful as well. And it's a principle I don't think that's brand new. Obviously, the GoGiver has been out for about 9 years, as Bob said. But, I think that we have to refresh our focus on others. And, imagine how much better the world would be if that's what everybody did. Focusing on others and giving them what they need so that they can achieve new levels of success and hit new heights. I'm certainly going to continue with that focus at fusedlogic and with our team and with our customers. It's absolutely the core of my being, and so that's a really critical message I think that Bob sent today. I did mention that I'm reading the GoGiver Leader, and I certainly am. It's a wonderful book, and I can't, as I said earlier, can't wait to read GoGiver Sells More. So those are going to be on my shelf and reading them and sharing the message as much as possible. One of the clients I'd like to thank at this episode is Surface Solutions. Mike Beck is the owner of Surface Solutions up in Grand Prairie. These guys do amazing work in terms of offset frac monitoring and a whole lot of regulatory work in the oil and gas sector, measuring and testing valves and wellheads and so on. So, a shout out to Mike. Thank you so much for your business over the years, and I really wish you all the success. It was a lot of fun, doing some work with you and for you. So check out surfacesolutions.ca. And as always, a really big shout out to my pal and friend Thomas at Octavo Productions. Head to octavoproductions.com to learn more about his business. He pulls together all the unique and original music on the show and also helps us pull together all of the various elements to put together what I hope is a really great show. So head to octavoproductions.com. And once again, my special thanks to Bob Burg, co-author of the GoGiver series of books with John David Mann. Head to the GoGiver.com to check out his podcast and pick up one of his books. They're just absolutely terrific, as you heard. Bob is a terrific speaker, and he's got just such a depth of knowledge in terms of how to build your business through giving and building referrals and all sorts of other really strong principles. I want to really thank you so very much for listening today. And it's been such a pleasure to learn from Bob, and I look forward to the next episode of the FuseLogic podcast, as I hope you do. Your time is precious to us, and you don't ever give it back, so the fact you've spent time listening to us is a real honor. And so we thank you so very much. Head to fuselogic.com/podcast to hear this episode and many others. Also remember, there's a secret download there for you, for all of our audience members, something very special so that can help your business improve instantaneously, we hope. And also, it's important to remember that, if you have some time, head to newbeginningsmexico.org and help those folks out down in Mexico. Make a donation today. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Walter Schwaber. And always remember, you were made to thrive.
Fused Logic. Analytics and engagement evolved.